lovely sunny day today, I thought we'd do the follow-up to my most recent mudlarking adventures in the garden. So join me now as we have a look at the items I found and some of the history behind the items that came up. So without further ado, let's start with the first item. So this was the first proper item I found on the foreshore, and it's also my very first vulcanite bottle stopper. And you can see there it is Charrington & Co Limited, Mile End 1129. Charrington Brewery was founded in Bethnal Green in the early 18th century by Robert Westfield. In 1766 John Charrington joined the company, which then traded as Westfield, Moss and Charrington from the Anchor Brewery in Stepney. It merged with United Breweries in 1964 to become Charrington United Breweries. In 757 Joseph Moss became a partner and the brewery moved to Mile End. In 1769, Westfield retired and his shares were purchased by Charrington after Moss also retired. In 1783, Charrington and his brother Henry were in full control of the business. By 1807, they were the second largest brewers in London, producing 20,252 barrels per year. In 1880, the company were known as Charrington & Co. In 1897, Charrington & Co Limited was registered, and the Mile End Brewery cancelled production in 1975. So, interesting little bit of history on my very first bottle stopper, which is in remarkably good condition considering it's nearly 100 years old. So on to the next item. This was my probably second decent find of the day, and you can see it's also my first complete clay pipe bowl with a lovely leaf pattern up the seam. Unfortunately, the section of the pipe bowl that would have had the name on it has broken off, but it's still in wonderful condition and probably dates from the 1830s to around about 1900. So again, over 100 years old, nearly 200 years old, and in remarkably good condition, and my first full and complete pipe bowl, so very happy with that one. So next we're going to have a look at the star find of the day, which was my Antler knife handle. And this is a 16th to 18th century, making it post-medieval. And you can see it's what would have been known as a full tang knife handle. You can see just here and here two little pins. So what that would have done is that would have held two scales of antler on either side of the tang of the knife in place, giving it the chance to be stronger than if a tang was just inserted into a piece of bone. It's got a lovely scoring pattern on there, and that was my first time I've ever found a knife handle, and I was very chuffed with that one. And the 16th to 18th century was a very busy time in England's history, and it started with the Tudor Dynasty. It saw the founding of the Tudor Dynasty with Henry VII in 1485, and he ruled until 1509 and kept on going right up until Elizabeth I in 1603 when she died. That saw the end of the Tudor Dynasty and the beginning of the Stuarts, who ruled from 1603 right up until 1702, and that was William III, and also saw a period of time when England trialled being a republic for the first and only time, and that was 1649 to 1658 with Oliver Cromwell, who was Lord Protector, and then his son Richard Cromwell, who ruled from 1658 to 1660, upon which time Charles II was invited back to rule as king again, and he was restored in 1660. So a very busy time. Also saw the gunpowder plot, and very pleased to have that. One of the oldest things I've found, certainly the oldest thing I've found on the Thames so far, and very pleased with that. So next we're going to have a look at some of the pottery that I found, and we'll start with a nice little selection of redware. So this is mostly post-medieval with a little bit here of Victorian redware, and if you want to know more about redware, have a look in the description below, because there is a link to one of my other videos in which I give a detailed history and breakdown of redware. So nice selection there, including a piece of a pot leg. So that was the most interesting sort of pottery find from the redware selection. And moving on now, we will have a look at some different pieces of Victorian pottery. So we have here two transfer printed pieces of pottery and two pieces of Victorian earthenware. The transfer printed pottery was developed in England from the 1750s onwards, became extremely popular in the 19th century. The bulk of production was for the Staffordshire pottery industry, with America as a major market. An example of transfer printing is the well-known willow pattern, and this one over here is some Victorian earthenware. So a couple of nice bits of Victorian, possibly late Georgian pottery, And the next find is the second of its kind, and it's always nice to find them because it's very fragile, and it is tin glazed earthenware, also known as delftware. And again, if you want to know more about the history of Delft and pottery, have a look in the description below, because the link to the same video with redware also covers the history of Delft in detail. So very nice piece of pottery, that very fragile unfortunately, so it doesn't always survive very well, so I was quite pleased to find that. And finally we're going to have a look at this piece of deer antler. So among all the bones and jaw bones, leg bones and everything else that's on the Thames, I found this rather nice piece of probably red deer antler. So this would have been used for making such things as the knife handle that I found, and also would have been cast-offs from the table of probably Henry VIII in Tudor England at Greenwich Palace, where he would have eaten a large quantity of venison from the deer parks at Richmond and would have had it shipped down the Thames, and it would have been a favoured meal of his on the table. So nice little find there in amongst all the bones to find a piece of deer antler as well. So that's all the finds for today. So thank you for joining me outside on this lovely sunny day. I hope you've enjoyed some of the history of the items I found on my most recent trip to the Thames. And join me again soon, because I'm heading to the foreshore again imminently. So really looking forward to that, and I'm bound to be out detecting again sometime as well. So there's bound to be more videos and follow-ups to come. So I hope you've enjoyed today, and if you have, can I ask that you please click the like and subscribe button, and that will encourage me to keep going for a little bit longer. And also you can also donate to the making of these videos through my Ko-fi account, so details in the description below for that. So I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Thank you very much. I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.